Hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your twice-weekly dose of the finest 2A propaganda. Remember that horrifically violent scene from Bambi where you hear a gunshot, then you never see Bambi's mother again, so it's assumed she was shot by a hunter? Apparently, that scene is so shockingly graphic, Disney is not comfortable including it in the remake of Bambi. Oh yeah, they're remaking Bambi. Is there any treasured childhood classic they are not willing to defile? Why though? I mean, not the defiling classics thing. Everybody knows Hollywood ran out of ideas about the time the LHC opened a portal to the Hitlerverse back in '08 and stuff started getting really weird. Can somebody please give Dr. Freeman a crowbar and get his ass to Switzerland already? What I mean is, why would Disney delete that scene? It's emotionally impactful and a pivotal moment in the plot, but it's also not even remotely graphic. The scene, and the movie as a whole, are a protest against man's impact on nature. It's not exactly pro-gun propaganda. It certainly doesn't portray hunting or firearms in a remotely positive light, so why did they decide to pull it? What are your thoughts? While you consider that, also consider the fact that it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors. So let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by TNVC.com, your source for bespoke artisanal night vision.
Do you like seeing stuff more than not seeing stuff? I know I do. If so, then check out TNVC.com for all your seeing stuff needs, because we'll be seeing you tonight.
And by Springfield Armory. Their new Echelon can mount virtually any micro red dot and has a modular fire control group. And by Vault Pro, proudly manufacturing the finest American-made safes, vault doors, safe rooms, and storm shelters. Well, it looks like there won't be a Freedom Week 2.0. Raise your hand if you are the slightest bit surprised. Anybody?
I am Jack's complete lack of surprise.
The Ninth Circus just granted a stay on the injunction against California standard capacity magazine ban, leaving the ban in place. The road to get here is definitely TLDR, so let me see if I can sum it up for you.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
In the long ago, St. Roger Benitez issued an injunction against the state of California, preventing them from enforcing their unconstitutional magazine ban. The state appealed and was granted a stay on the injunction, but in the meantime, millions of standard capacity magazines were legally purchased in California. This Freedom Week also protects people from prosecution who may have acquired their magazine outside of that week. So long as the magazine does not have a date code proving it was made after April of 2019, there is no way to prove it was purchased illegally. The case pachinkoed itself around the court system until the Supremes granted, vacated, and remanded the case down to the lower courts. What that means is they granted certiorari, vacated the lower court's decision, and remanded them back to be decided again under the history, text, and tradition standard imposed by the Bruin ruling. That should have been a crystal clear message to the Ninth Circuit that they got it wrong. St. Benitez once again ruled against the state and issued an injunction, this time alongside an emergency stay. The Ninth Circus then tripped over itself to cover for the state, even going so far as to break its own procedural rules, skipping the normal 3-judge panel and going straight to an en banc or full court panel. It was no surprise to see them grant a stay on the injunction, but it is infuriating. 4 judges wrote a dissent taking up 37 pages of the 43-page ruling. The dissent brutally eviscerates the state's arguments and lays bare the clear bias and corruption in their own court. Believe it or not, it's an entertaining read. As always, we have linked it down there in the doobly-doo, so if you get a moment, you should really take a look at it. It's pretty fun. But the bottom line here is the Ninth Circus is dead set on ignoring SCOTUS and running out the clock. Eventually, they will have to rule on the merits of the case, and while it's clear they intend to put their thumbs on the scales, it will be difficult for them to find in favor of the state. It's hard to say how exactly this will shake out, but we were supposed to win this one. We should win this one. Then again, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Ninth obstinately defy the Supreme Court. If they do, we have every reason to expect the Supreme Court to grant cert again, if for no other reason than to affirm their own authority. Bumpy Boys might be back on the menu. When President Trump ordered the ATF to ban those slighty things, it kicked off a wave of lawsuits, and a couple have made it all the way to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, none of them were granted cert the last time around. This time, though, there is a split in the lower courts, which more or less forces the Supremes to step in and settle the difference. 2 cases are scheduled to be heard in conference on the 27th of this month. It will be some time before we find out if they are granted cert, but it's reasonable to expect so. If they do make it through, they won't be argued on Second Amendment grounds, though. The cases don't challenge the government's authority to enact a de facto ban on machine guns. They challenge the agency's regulatory authority to interpret the law in such a way. So we aren't going to see machine guns legalized or even get the Hughes Amendment repealed, but we are likely to see F Troop's authority to interpret law sharply curtailed, and that would have broad fallout for things like their brace and receiver rules. Death, taxes, and law enforcement exemptions for gun laws used to be the only things in this world you can really count on, but an extreme new gun control bill in Massachusetts doesn't even exempt cops. Like the other authoritarian states, Massachusetts is stamping their metaphorical foot and trying to pass a law defying the Bruin decision. The law is clearly intended to harass lawful gun owners with zero impact on criminals, but unless it is amended, it would even prohibit the U.S. Secret Service from carrying their normal duty weapons. And now for your moment of Zen. Friends, do you like pews and other pew-related things? Would you like to help us keep delivering you pure, uncut American pew propaganda at the low, low price of free fitty? We literally couldn't pay the bills without our sponsors, so do us a solid and get yourself something nice from them. You deserve it. I love you.